on KGW News at 6. Friends are in disbelief tonight after a 16-year-old from Vancouver was shot and killed by police.
It took a second to register, and then it was just kind of like numb shock.
What we're learning tonight about the officer who pulled the trigger and is now on leave.
Plus, a vote on whether to extend the housing emergency in Portland. What this could mean as the homeless crisis continues.
That's unbelievable. He broke his shoe with his own foot.
And Nike is responding tonight after this. A Duke basketball player blowing out his shoe on the court, injuring his knee. KGW News at 6 starts now.
A big crowd is expected tonight at a Portland church. The public will get its first chance to talk with police about controversial emails sent between a police lieutenant and the leader of a right-wing group.
That group, Patriot Prayer, has been involved in a number of violent clashes on Portland streets. KGW's Mike Benner live outside of Maranatha Church in Northeast Portland for us right now, where this listening session is about to get started. Mike.
Yeah, Dan, the listening session will be getting underway at any moment. The hope here is that people will voice their concerns and their ideas for solutions, though we've already heard some of that. Take a look at this video. We watched as several dozen people held a rally outside Maranatha Church here just a short time ago. It was held for about an hour before this listening session. Again, this all stems from the release of text messages between Portland Police Lieutenant Jeffrey Nia and Joey Gibson of the right-wing group Patriot Prayer. The union representing Lieutenant Nia says he was simply doing his job, gathering intel to keep the community safe. In fact, we're told Nia tried reaching out to groups on the left but was unsuccessful. Critics, however, say the text messages between Nia and Gibson crossed the line. They were unprofessional. Critics believe the text showed the two were too friendly and too cozy, and that, for them, is concerning.
The people who should be arbiters are absolutely on a side. And it's a little bit concerning whose side they're on.
All right, back out here live. Again, the listening session will be getting started at any moment. Anyone heading inside the church tonight will be checked for weapons or anything that can be used as a weapon. Nobody here wants this evening to turn violent. We'll be out here all evening long and have the very latest on KGW News at 11. For now, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. New public records just released show Lieutenant Nia's efforts to establish communication with left-wing protesters as well. As we told you last week during this June 2017 protest, Lieutenant Nia texted Joey Gibson telling him now would be a good time to break down that Antifa were trying to flank the police and Gibson's group. Text records show he was also in communication with two members aligned with Antifa. He wrote, "I'm doing my best, as is our command staff, to just be a barrier between all groups. We would rather not engage outside of keeping people safe by not allowing weapons in the crowds as best we can. Please feel free to message me or use me to communicate concerns." In response, the protester wrote, "Just don't stare us down with the terrorist gear you guys wear. It will escalate people on our side. Focus on them. We're not the enemy. We live here." We've posted all the texts between Lieutenant Nia and protest leaders he spoke with during this event on our website, kgw.com. Vancouver police have released the name of the officer involved in a deadly shooting.
They say Corporal Roger Evans shot 16-year-old Clayton Joseph after he refused to put down a knife. Joseph had just immigrated to the U.S. from Micronesia only a few months ago.
Tonight, KGW's Devin Haskins spoke with those who spent time with the teen while he was still living in Micronesia.
He smiled all the time. Like, he's just one of those kids that, like, no matter what he's doing, he's smiling.
Devin Knighting met 16-year-old Clayton Joseph while he was on a mission trip to Micronesia a few years ago.
He would come around with us. His family would feed us a lot. Like, he'd come with us, follow us. We played basketball with him.
He says on the court, Joseph was always trying to help calm tense situations.
He was the one that was kind of like, okay, guys, like, listen, we're just here to have fun. Don't sweat it. You know, just super nice.
And on Tuesday night, that's exactly what friends say he was trying to do. Vancouver police were responding to a fight between a man and a woman. When they arrived, they found Joseph and another man fighting. Friends say he was trying to keep the woman from getting hit. Police say he had a knife, and when they ordered him to drop it, he didn't listen. He was shot and later died from a gunshot wound to the chest.
So when I heard that it was Clayton as well, I was like, like it took a second to register, and then it was just kind of like numb shock.
Connor Bloxham was in Micronesia on a mission trip when he met then 12-year-old Clayton Joseph.
He was not a troublemaker. He was, he cared a lot about his family. He usually stayed home with his family, watching his brothers and sisters. He was dedicated on his education.
Both men say they were shocked when they heard what happened to the boy they once met.
It's just sad that, like, yeah, such a good kid had to go.
He was a good kid, and that this was a terrible tragedy that didn't need to happen.
Vancouver police identified Corporal Roger Evans as the officer in the shooting. And in his 20-plus years, he's held many roles inside the department, including that as a canine handler. This video is from 2014. And at the time, KGW was profiling then Officer Evans and his canine. We also dug into our archives looking for other stories involving Corporal Evans. We learned that in 2008, then Officer Evans, while off duty, pulled a gun on a butcher. Commander reprimanded him, but prosecutors declined to press charges. In this investigation, Corporal Evans is on paid leave. In Vancouver, Devin Haskins, KGW News.
For the third time in 4 years, the City Council has voted to extend Portland's state of housing emergency for another 2 years. KGW's Joe Ranieri live outside of City Hall for us. So, Joe, with this decision now, what does it mean for the future of homeless shelters in Portland?
Well, Dan, this now is going to pave the way for more housing to be built over the next couple of years. And one council member in this afternoon's meeting would say she wanted to find a way to help raise millions for those in need over the next 2 years. In a unanimous decision,
I vote aye. The ordinance is adopted.
On Thursday afternoon, the Portland City Council voted to extend the city's state of housing emergency. According to the Portland Housing Bureau, the Rose City sees some of the highest rent increases in the country, with an average rent growth between 8 and 9%. Paul Soucy, who helps manage several of the homeless shelters, says he sees firsthand how many people need help.
More than 700 men, women, and couples shelter with us each night across our 8 different locations. I'm immensely proud of that on a personal level and on a civic level. I'm proud of this community for doing that.
Soucy says if it wasn't for the state of emergency being extended over the last 4 years, there would be more people looking for a place to stay.
The state of emergency has enabled us to pilot low-barrier shelters that welcome people as they are and thereby overcome the reluctance many folks have living on the streets that have traditionally felt about coming inside.
City officials say they've made huge strides to add more affordable housing. Council member Chloe Udaley says over the next 2 years, she wants to find ways to help fund the growing crisis of affordable housing.
We don't have revenue sources specifically identified to fund solutions to homelessness, displacements, and housing affordability. So many housing-related policies and programs cannot be implemented or expanded.
Udaley says her goal is to find those resources.
What I would like to see is the Revenue Division in coordination with PHB and others as necessary, identify potential new revenue sources such as a vacancy tax, other taxes or fees.
The potential for millions of dollars to come in for those in need. Now, some other plans for the latest extension period include adding more day storage facilities around town. There's already one built under the Steel Bridge. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Joe. The measles outbreak has grown again, now to 64 confirmed cases in Clark County, as well as 2 suspected cases. We've also learned tonight health officials in other parts of Oregon are investigating possible cases. A mother in Douglas County posted on Facebook yesterday saying her 4-month-old son has a case of measles. That prompted health officials to investigate. They say with infants, it can be hard to tell.
During the times when there are outbreaks like this, there are people who have diseases that's a little hard to know exactly what it is, and especially in young babies and in others, it's sometimes hard to know if this is really the measles or not.
That mother says specialists in Portland called her after she made that Facebook post and told her her son had a virus similar to the measles. Douglas County health officials say they're still looking into other cases.
Slipping and injured is Zion Williamson. That's unbelievable. He broke his shoe with his own foot.
An epic failure of a Nike shoe on national television injured a college star last night, and it has a lot of people talking.
How about that video? Yeah, so Pat Doris, our reporter, hitting the streets today to find out, I guess, what people are saying about this, Pat.
Well, a lot of people agree with what you said, that it appears to be an epic fail, but probably won't hurt the company's brand unless this becomes a widespread problem.
plants right here. His foot comes out of his shoe.
The blowout happened less than a minute into the game between Duke and North Carolina.
That's unbelievable. He broke his shoe with his own foot. But as you
Star player Zion Williamson planted his foot and his shoe tore apart. The motion was so abrupt and unexpected that he sprained his right knee. Former President Barack Obama was there and can be seen saying his shoe broke. Williamson missed the rest of the game. The offending shoe is called the Paul George 2.5. Paul George himself plays for the Oklahoma Thunder and said today he's baffled.
Talk with Nike to see what went wrong, what happened with the shoe.
I went to the Nike employee store today to see what the loyalists think about the blowout.
We've been a longtime shareholder too, love the company, they make good products. So
customer Jason Brott said it's no big deal.
I don't know, I kind of chuckled about it. I've shopped Nike for years and years and years. I've never had anything fail on me, so I assume they'll probably sort it out.
Riza Kanji said he's surprised blowouts don't happen more often.
You know, I'm one that needs a lot of support in my shoes. So I think that's part of it too, is the shoes I think are getting too flexible.
Nike issued a brief statement today wishing Williamson a speedy recovery and said, while this is an isolated occurrence, we are working to identify the issue. So, will the failure hurt Nike? Today the company's stock fell about 1%. Matthew Kish covers Nike for the Portland Business Journal. He said the lasting impact is likely to be minor, if anything.
Nike has $36 billion in annual sales. Basketball is only 4% of that at about $1.6 billion. So while it's important and high profile, the possible damage to the overall brand, I would say, is a little bit limited.
Tonight, the News and Observer newspaper in North Carolina is reporting that Nike executives flew in to meet with school leaders. Back to you.
Yeah, you would think so. They got some damage control to do here. Thank you, Pat. So I want to show you a photo now of a church sign in Milwaukee. It's gone viral at this point on Facebook, and it's the subject of tonight's viewer voice poll. Clackamas United Church of Christ posting this picture of their sign out front reading, "National Emergency, 44 million people without health insurance." That's a reference, of course, to President Trump's national emergency declaration to get funding for his border wall. The photo has gotten more than 1,200 reactions on Facebook. Now, it's in the comments, some people applauded the church. They thought that they took a good stance here, while others, of course, on the other side of the coin, saying that religion and politics maybe shouldn't mix.
So what do you think? We want to know in our viewer voice poll tonight. Do you think churches should post political messages on their signs? Yes or no? Head to kgw.com/vote or click the viewer voice tile on the KGW News app, and we'll have the results later in this newscast.
It's not as fun and glamorous, but it just seems like the right thing to do.
Some Oregon Lottery millionaires hiding in plain sight. Why they say they didn't tell people when they hit the jackpot. Coming up.
I'm Matt Safino. We hit the jackpot with the weather today. All that sunshine, of course, the sun has set. Well, there's still a little bit of light left in the sky, and it looks good. But those high clouds out there, the front runner of a new storm coming in. And that's the beginning of another major snowfall for the Oregon Cascades and the mountains of eastern Oregon. We'll talk about all that after the break.